Good morning, 6th grade. Welcome to day 3 of math class. Hopefully you're starting to get into the routine now. You should have your power up out on your desk. Remember, as we start to get into these things now, we start with the back side with the quiz. Remember, if you want to pull out yesterday's assignment to help you with those questions to be able to do that, that is fantastic and a good use of your resources. And then to the front side, where you have the multiplication still, the A through H, and then the problem solving. As you work through that problem solving, I know they still are giving you the answers, but make sure you look at the steps on how to do that. And then after you're done with your power up, we'll get into the lesson where you'll need your yellow folder and your math book, and then eventually the answer keys as we work through the next problems. So you can pause the video now and make sure you get your power up and the quiz on the back side done. Okay, hopefully you're done with that and you're back at it. We'll do a quick review from yesterday's lesson. Yesterday we were talking about some of the properties we're going to use. So we had the cumulative property, which means I can change the order and it doesn't change the answer. That works in multiplication and that also works in addition. We talked about the associative property. That's using parentheses to put different numbers or different groupings there. And no matter which one I group, it doesn't change the answer. Once again, that also works in addition and multiplication. Neither one of those properties work for subtraction or division. We also talked about the identity property. The identity property keeps the number or answer the same. In addition, that number is 0. Adding 0 to anything keeps that number. In multiplication, the number is 1. Multiplying anything by 1 keeps our answer the same. The last property we used was called the zero property of multiplication. Multiplying anything by 0 equals 0. Okay, we also use the term inverse properties, which means the opposite of addition, subtraction. Opposite of subtraction would then be addition. And then multiplication's inverse is division, and division's inverse is multiplication. We do that to check those. Those will be really important because we're going to use that a lot today as we get into lesson 3. So you're turning your page on your yellow folder. We're on to the back side as we start working about finding missing numbers in adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. In your book, you're on the top of page 21, and it reads like this. An equation is a statement that two quantities are equal. So here we show two equations. 3 plus 4 equals 7. 5 plus a equals 9. So as I look at my notes there, an equation is a statement that two quantities are equal. You can see the word equal right in equation by just dropping off the L with that. So we're just saying what things equal. The equation on the right contains a variable. In this lesson, we will practice finding the value of variables in adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. Sometimes we encounter addition equations in which the sum is unknown. Sometimes we encounter addition equations in which an addend is unknown. We can use a letter to represent an unknown number. The letter may be uppercase or lowercase. So when I'm missing the unknown sum for the first one, 2 plus 3 equals n. Okay, they're saying what's the answer? You have to add 2 plus 3 to equal to 5. Most of the work will be like those next two. I'll either be missing the second or the first one. So if I'm missing something in addition, I do the inverse of it to find it. Continuing on, it says if we know two of the three numbers, we can find the unknown number. We can find the unknown addend by subtracting the known addend from the sum. If there are more than two addends, we subtract all the known addends from the sum. For example, to find n here, we have 3 plus 4 plus n plus 7 plus 8 equals 40. We subtract 3, 4, 7, and 8 from 40. To do this, we usually add 3, 4, 7, and 8 together and then subtract it from the sum of 40. Okay, into my notes. A variable, once again, is a letter used to represent a number that we have to figure out. So because it can vary, we just stick a letter into that. So that's a review from lesson 1. Excuse me. Now, for the first one, it says, hey, I have an unknown addend. Anytime I'm missing a number in addition, to solve it, I subtract. Example 1, they gave us 3 problems. We'll solve them. The first one says n plus 53 equals 75. I'm missing it in addition, so I'm going to subtract. 75 minus 53 equals 22. So n equals 22. The B, we're missing the second number, but it's still an add-in. So when I'm missing an add-in, it's 61 minus 26. This one I have to borrow. Becomes 11. Subtract gives me 5. 5 minus 2 is 3. I have an answer of 35. The last one is what they started out with in the example as we were working into it, and we have to solve it now. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add 3 plus 4 is 7. I'm going to add 7 plus 8 is 15. I'm going to add 15 and 7 together now and get 22. And now I have a missing add-in, and so I subtract it from 40. 40 minus 22, I cross out the 4, make it a 3, make the 0 a 10. 10 minus 2 is 8. 3 minus 2 is 1. And I figured out that the missing add-in is 18. Okay, in addition, it's usually pretty easy. If I'm missing a letter in addition, to solve it, I subtract. Turning to the next page says what happens when we're missing something in subtraction. It says there are 3 numbers in a subtraction equation. If one of the 3 numbers is unknown, we can find the unknown numbers in this way. Number 1, if you're missing the minuend, if you're missing the first number, we're going to solve that in a certain way. If you're missing the second number, it's in a certain way, and if you're missing the third one, it's in a certain way. Now, underneath that, it says to find an unknown minuend, you add the other 2 numbers. To find an unknown subtrahend, you subtract. Okay? So I like to say it this way. If I'm missing the first number, I still add. If I'm missing the second number, I subtract. So I put my S's together, second, still, subtract. And so if I'm back into my folder over here, you can see missing a minuend equals add. Missing a subtrahend equals subtract. And then I want you to say missing second, still, subtract. The subtraction ones can be a challenge. We'll work these, and then I'll show you another way that maybe works for you too as well. So I look at this, missing the first one, missing the minuend, I add. So I take 24 plus 17, get an 11, carry the 1, get a 4. The letter P equals 41. So 41 minus 24 equals 17. Sometimes at the beginning of the year we like to say, hey, you know the first number needs to be the bigger number. Now that's not going to be true all year long, because as we cruise through the year this year, it doesn't necessarily have to work that way. Second one down here, I'm missing the second number. When I'm missing the second number, I second, still, subtract. So I have 32 minus 14. I'm going to have to borrow, get an 8. I'm going to subtract and get a 1. I get an 18. So 32 minus 18 equals 14. So one option is to remember missing the first, still add. Missing the second, still subtract. A second way some students like to solve subtraction problems is to go back what we talked about yesterday. Yesterday we talked about fact families, and can I turn the thing around? So the opposite of subtraction is addition, so I just write it in the completely opposite way. So that would be looking like this. The last number becomes the first number. This becomes addition. Second stays in the second. This equals the letter that stays there. Written backwards, 14 plus x equals 32. And some of us who are really good at remembering our addition rules might appreciate just turning it around. Look what happens. When I miss the first number, it's just 17 plus 24. Becomes an addition problem, gives me my answer of 41. This one might help us this way. When I turn it around, I have 14 plus x equals 32. Well, you remember anytime we're missing something in addition, we solve it through subtraction. So it's a second way to do that, guys, which might make it easier for you to remember if you have trouble saying, I can't remember if I'm supposed to add or subtract, because there's a big difference if you don't do it the right way. After example 2, you have an example 3, a little paragraph. It says multiplication equation is composed of factors and a product. If any of the numbers is unknown, we can figure it out this way. Unknown product, unknown factor, or an unknown factor. It says to find an unknown product, you simply multiply. That's just a multiplication problem. When you're missing an unknown factor, we're going to divide by what's there. So I have a letter next to a number. Goes back to lesson 1, reminding you that always mean multiply. To solve it, we always divide. So I take example A, I put it in the box for myself, 168 divided by 12. 12 goes into 16 once, gives me a 12, subtract 4, bring down the 8. 12 into 48 goes in there 4 times, gives me 48. My answer is a 14. Next letter, I have 7k equals 105. Product in the box, factor outside the box. 7 goes into 10 once, it's a 7. Bring down, subtract with a 3. Bring down my 5. 7 goes into 35 5 times. My answer is 15. And last but not least, after example 3, we have what to do when it's division. It says if we know 2 of the numbers in a division equation, we can figure out what's unknown. I might be missing the quotient. I might be missing the divisor. I might be missing the dividend. Okay, it says to find an unknown quotient. That's a division problem, guys. We simply divide the dividend by the divisor. That's normal division, that first example. If we're missing an unknown divisor, we divide the 2 numbers that they gave us. We divide the dividend by the quotient. If we have an unknown dividend, then we have to actually multiply. And so in your notes, hopefully you filled in if you're missing an unknown factor, you divide. Second to last one, if you're missing an unknown divisor, you divide. So my helpful hint is they have long I's. I say divisor, I still divide. Unknown dividend, that one does not have a long I. That one switched around. I actually multiply. Okay, now I'm going to show you what I did for example 4. They gave me a divided by 3 equals 15. I wrote it side by side. And here's why I did that. If I go to fact families like we did for subtraction, I can do this one and switch it to a multiplication problem. So a divided by 3 equals 15. Turn it around. 15 times 3 equals a. Letter B says 64 divided by b equals 4. Turn it around. 4 times b equals 64. Now that I have it written the other way and it's multiplication, I know for the first one I'm supposed to multiply. 3 times 15 equals 45. I know for the bottom one, 4 times b equals 64. That looks like this. I know I'm supposed to divide then to solve it. 4 goes into 64 once, gives me a 4. Subtract 2, bring down the 4. 4 goes into 24 6 times, and I have an answer of 16. If I want to do it the way my book had it spelled out, I have a over 3, and I say, hey, I'm missing the dividend. My notes say, when you miss the dividend, you multiply. So I would take 3 times 15. In B, 64 divided by the divisor that I don't know, missing the divisor, I still divide, and then it would solve that problem. So guys, if you're good at knowing your vocabulary words and you know what your dividend and your divisor is, and then you know the rules for it that you have in your yellow folder, feel free to do it that way. If you struggle sometimes saying, I can't remember if I'm supposed to divide or multiply, I think a great way to do it is just to make it the opposite. Just put it in reverse order, 15 times 3, and then you know it's a multiplication problem, and then you know you're missing a multiplication. You solve it through division. Okay, at the bottom of the page you have your practice set of A through K. I would highly recommend you taking some time to do a few of those problems to make sure that you are understanding this. We're going to get these questions answered, asked of us throughout the entire year, and what they're going to do is they're going to switch from whole numbers to decimal numbers to fractions, and if we're going at it long enough, we'll eventually get to negative numbers to mix in there. So they're going to give us these type of problems all year long. We got to make sure we have a good foundation for that. So take the time to practice it if you need it. I'm going to erase the board and get set for your lesson today where we work our 15 problems. Hopefully you got your answer key out here so you can follow along with me the problems that we're going to be working. I'll keep reminding you, if I'm going fast, make sure you pause it so you can get it all written down. If it's hard for you to see, just make sure you're listening to the things I'm saying. It's obviously right in your math book. You can see what you have to write down, and then you can hear the things that I'm saying to you. Make sure you understand the process and you're getting these things down, so as we continue to work these quiz questions for you, you can keep doing really well on those things and have the confidence to be able to go back and look at the steps that we did to solve these problems as we continue to build and build on our foundation, and it becomes a little bit more complicated this year as we move our way through that. I'm going to get started on number 1 here. It says when the product of 4 and 4 Product means multiply, so the first thing I do is 4 times 4 equals 16. Second line says, is divided by the sum of 4 and 4. Sum means add, so I got 4 plus 4 equals 8. It asked me to divide that, so I figure out the quotient. So I'm taking 16 inside the box, 8 outside the box. 8 goes into 16 twice. The quotient will be 2. Number 2 says, if you know the subtrahend and the difference, how can you find the minuend? Write a complete sentence to answer the question. Well, I'm going to go to my notes real quick to say I'm missing the minuend. What do I do when I'm missing the minuend? It tells me to add. And so now in a complete sentence, I would write, we add the subtrahend and the difference. Okay, so they asked me for a complete sentence, but they're just saying, hey, if you're missing the minuend, what do? You add them together. So we add the subtrahend and the difference. It'll give us the missing minuend. Number 5, use the numbers 3 and 4 to illustrate the cumulative property of multiplication. Use a center dot to indicate multiplication. Cumulative property means I can change the order. So I do 3 times 4. Remember, they told me to use a dot. Okay. Now, lots of times, 6th graders will go, 3 times 4 equals 12. We didn't ask an answer. We said 3 times 4 equals, change the order. 3 times 4 equals 4 times 3. So 3 times 4 equals 4 times 3. On your math tests coming up in the future, they're going to ask you to show the cumulative property, and a lot of 6th graders are tempted to write an answer down. We don't write an answer down. We do 3 times 4 equals 4 times 3. Number 7. Starting to practice from today's lesson. X plus 83 equals 112. Missing something in addition, I subtract. So I'm going to write down 112 minus 83, and I'm going to solve that problem. Cross out the 11, make it a 10, becomes 12. 12 minus 3 is 9. 10 minus 2 is, 10 minus 8 is 2, and I get an answer of 29. Number 8, I'm missing the second in subtraction. S is going together. My brain says second, still subtract. So I'm going to take 96 and I'm going to minus 27 from it. Can't do it. Borrow. 16 minus 7 is 9. 8 minus 2 is 6. I have an answer of 69. Number 9. Missing in multiplication. Anytime I'm missing in multiplication, doesn't matter which factor it is I divide. So I put 119 in the box. I put 7 outside the box. 7 goes into 11 once, multiplied is 7, subtracted is 4, bring down the 9. 7 goes into 49 7 times, that's 49, it's done. My answer is 17. Number 10, missing something in addition. Anytime I'm missing something in addition, I subtract. So I have 300 minus 127. Cross out the 3, make it a 2, make it a 10, cross it out, make it a 9, make the last number a 10. 10 minus 7 is 3, 9 minus 2 is 7, 2 minus 1 is 1, and I have an answer of 173. Number 11, I'm missing the first number in subtraction. Missing the minuend, it's what we just did in number 2, guys. What did we say we had to do? We had to add them together. So for number 11, I'm going to put out here 731 plus 137. 1 plus 7 is 8. 3 plus 3 is 6. 1 plus 7 is 8. And I have an answer of 678. Number 12, a letter next to a number means multiply. When I'm missing something in multiplication, I solve it through division. So I put 400 divided by 25. 25 goes into 40 once. I multiply, I get 25. I have to borrow. 10 minus 5 is 5. 3 minus 2 is 1. I'll bring down another 0. 25 goes into 156 times. That's 150. Gives me an answer of 0. My overall answer is 16. Number 13, 620 5 divided by W equals 25. I'm missing the divisor. That's that long I. Divisor, still divide. So 625 is in the box. 25 is outside the box. 25 goes into 62 twice. Multiplied is 50. Subtracted is 2, 1, bring down 5. Have 125. It goes in there 5 times, which is 125. My answer is my answer is 25. You might want to note that 25 squared, or 25 times 25 is 625. We'll use that a number of times. Last one on the front side is number 14. This time I'm missing the dividend. X divided by 60 equals 700. When you're missing the dividend, you multiply. So I'm taking 700 times 60. I'm going to do the shortcut. I'm going to take 7 times 6. 7 times 6 is 42. I'm going to count my zeros. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Boom. I get 42,000 when I put 700 times 60 together. Flipping your answer key over, we got number 17. Number 17 has parentheses. That means do it first. If you look at number 16, guys, you can see it's the same numbers, different things in parentheses. They're once again going to show you there's no such thing as the associative property of division because you'll get different answers. So for 17, I'm taking 96 and I'm dividing it by 16. Goes in there 6 times. 6 times 6 is 36. 6 times 1 is 6, plus that 3 is 9. My answer is 6. Now I take that answer and I have to do the second step. Take 6 and divide it by 2, and you get an answer of 3. So your overall answer for number 17 is 3. Number 19 says $50 minus $648 plus $31.75, and we got some parentheses. So I've said it a number of times. I'll say it again. Parentheses mean do it first. I'm going to take $31.75. I'm going to put it on top because I like the bigger number on top. And I'm going to add to it $6.48. Make sure you line up your decimal places, and away we go. 5 plus 8 is 13. Carry the 1. 1 plus 7 is 8, plus 4 is 12. Carry the 1. 1 plus 1 plus 6 is 8. 3 plus nothing is 3. Decimal point straight down, dollar sign, I got $38.23. Now I'll go back to the first number. It said, please take your answer and subtract it from $50. So I take my $50, I subtract $38.23 from it. Cross out the 5, make it a 4. 0 becomes a 10, cross it out, make it a 9. 0 to 10 to 9, last one a 10. 10 minus 3 is 7. 9 minus 2 is 7. Decimal point straight down. 9 minus 8 is 1. 4 minus 3 is 1. I have $11.77. 25. Big subtraction problem. I'm just going to write it out. I have 30,145 minus 4,299. I'm going to cross out the 4, make it a 3. That becomes 15. 15 minus 9 is 6. Can't do the subtraction. Cross out the 1, make it a 0, make it 13. 13 minus 9 is 4. Cross out the 30, make it a 29. Make my 0 a 10. 10 minus 2 is 8. 9 minus 4 is 5. 2 minus nothing is 2. 1, 2, 3 with a comma. I have an answer of 25,846. Last problem for the day is number 28. Division problem, I have 35 being divided into 2,104. So I'm going to look at this like this and say, how many times does 3 go into 1? 27. But I don't have a 3. I don't have just a 30. I have 35. So it's going to be a little bit less than that. So I'm going to bump my 7 down to a 6. 6 times 5 is 30. Carry the 3. 6 times 3 is 18, plus 3 is 21. I subtract, I get a 0. I bring down the 4. How many times does 35 go into 4? It goes in there 0 times. Don't forget your 0. That equals 0. I subtract, I got a 4. What do I do with the 4? I call it a remainder. So I have 60 remainder 4 for that last division problem. That's the 15 problems. Make sure you have the steps written down for that as you do these problems with us. My goal is what I'd like to see is you're kind of saying the same thing to yourself that I'm doing on the board here. So as I say divide, you wrote down 6, you're multiplying in your head to make sure you have those steps. It's great practice. Make sure you understand the process as we do that. Blessings on your math lesson.